Hello, I'm Stephen Fraser, and welcome to the Living the Life broadcast. This week, I am teaching on the subject of honor. Now, this is a very, very important subject because if we're going to be honored by God, then we've got to become honorable people. And of course, we're living in a very dishonorable world, a very dishonorable society. So we need to feed our faith on this subject, which is what we're going to do right now on this broadcast.
Life of Faith Bible Church in Louisville, Kentucky is having a 2-day meeting just for men. It will be a powerful time of training in spiritual warfare that will be both engaging and exciting. Join us Friday, April 27th at 7 p.m. and then Saturday morning, April 28th at 10 a.m. with a brunch to follow. This is your opportunity to be heavily equipped for your heavenly assignment, so be sure not to miss out. You can register by going to our website at lofbc.org. That's lofbc.org. Or call 888-542-2555. Be sure to join forces with us for this very strategic and divinely ordered men's meeting on April 27th and 28th at Life of Faith Bible Church.
It's imperative that we grow in the subject of honor and become honorable people, more and more honorable. And we can always be growing in it. We can always be getting better and better in our honor, because honor is a spiritual thing. It is a spiritual thing. It's a spiritual thing in that it proceeds from our spirit. And so it's an eternal thing. It's an endless thing. And it goes on and on and on. And you and I, throughout all the eternity, will be growing because we're spirit beings. We'll be going on and on and on, and we'll be growing and we'll be changing. Not just here on planet Earth, but we will be being changed throughout all eternity. More and more and more, becoming more transformed into the image and likeness of the one that made us, the one that created us. And the leading characteristic of God is honor. He is an honorable God. And so forever and ever, we're going to become more and more and more honorable as we walk with Him. And so it all comes back to honor. Where are we concerning honor? And like we said, honor is spiritual because it proceeds from our spirit. It's not something that's of the flesh. The flesh, which what we're talking about on Wednesday nights, the outer man. The Bible talks about there's an inner man and an outer man. The inner man being the spirit man who's been made one spirit with the Lord. And then there's the outer man. The outer man, or what we refer to many times as the flesh, is very superficial in what he does. But the things that are of the Spirit have depth and substance to them. Because once again, they are eternal. And so the weightier things in life are spiritual. The earthly, fleshly things of the outer man, they are superficial. They're light. And in many cases, worthless. They don't have much value to them. And yet we can go through our life operating out of the outer man, neglecting the inner man, living life, in other words, out of our flesh, or living our life very superficially. We can be very nice to people outwardly, externally, from the flesh. We can be very nice. We can do nice things. We can do a lot of good deeds. But yet they can come from very selfish, self-centered motives. Right? I mean, there's people that go on missions trips. There's people that go overseas and do all kinds of things. People that sacrifice all kinds of things. And yet it's very superficial because it's all selfish. It's all based on making them feel better about themselves. This is what they do to make themselves feel better, to make themselves feel like they have some value to themselves. And what they're doing is not being done by the ability that God supplies. They're just doing this thing in the name of God, but they're doing it in their own strength. Doing it in their own strength. Doing it out of their own ability. So therefore, it is very superficial. It is very light and cheap. Spiritually cheap. It doesn't have much value in eternity. It doesn't have much value spiritually. Which means we know it's not going to please God very much, right? Because God is spirit. That's right. So he's looking at us according to the Spirit. He's looking at what we're doing according to the Spirit. The things that we're doing according to the flesh do not impress God. And they won't even be remembered in eternity. They'll all just be, the Bible talks about 1 Corinthians chapter 3, that these things, these works of the flesh, will all just be burned up. Even though you might be saved, your works may all be burned up if what you've done in the earth is just out of yourself, for yourself, by yourself, according to the flesh. It's cheap. It's of no value. But spiritual things are valuable. Spiritual things are costly. Because whenever we do something from our spirit or from our hearts, God's involved in it. Because God is one spirit with our spirit. Now that we're born again. Of course, people that aren't even born again, they never made Jesus the Lord of their life, they're spiritually dead. Their spirit is dead. They have no relationship with God. So even their hearts are not right. They can't do anything spiritual. Everything they do is fleshy. Even the devil, who is a spirit, is still fleshy. He's a carnal devil. He's not a spiritual devil because he's separated from spiritual. He's separated from God, who is spiritual. God is what makes the spiritual spiritual. So that's why Jesus said concerning the devil that he's just mindful of the things of men. He's got his mind on earthly things. Tell me that's not frustrating. Imagine being a spirit and you're here in the earth. You don't have a body, so you have no contact with this earthly world. And yet you're as carnal as can be. You're as earthly, fleshly minded as possible. That's why he's so desperate to possess people. That's why he so much wants you to yield to him, because he's desperate for you. He sings that with the demons. I'm desperate for you. He's desperate. He's desperate for you because he is so desperate for the flesh. And he don't have any flesh to make contact with flesh, so he's got to get you to yield to him. And he starts messing with your mind and everything and gets you over to yielding to him, and then he can get expression through you. He can have some joy through you. You can kind of liken it to people that watch soap operas. You know, their life, they obviously don't like it. That's why they watch soap operas. The only reason why you'd watch a soap opera is because you don't like your own life. Well, it got quiet. I won't take that to mean anything. But you know, people will live through somebody else's acting. And people will go to movies and they'll watch things to get lost in what somebody else is doing and what somebody else is, and they want to have an experience through somebody else. Of course, you see it with sports really well, you know. Man, we lost. Friend, you sat on the couch all afternoon. What do you mean you lost? You didn't do anything. They lost. The guy's out there sweating and bleeding. We lost. We lost. You didn't do anything. We won. You didn't do anything except drink beer and eat chips. What are they doing? They're trying to live an experience through somebody else. So that's what we can kind of liken it to. The devil's trying to live through other human beings' lives, because he's carnal and he's fleshly and he's worthless. He has no value spiritually. And if you listen to him, He will make you worthless. He will take the worth and the value that God has invested in you, and he'll drain it all out of you until you're worth nothing if you listen to him, if you follow the devil. So we don't want to follow him. We don't want to be cheap. We don't want to be superficial. We don't want to be light and worthless. And so that's why we want to be a people of honor. We want to be a people that operate out of our spirit. Again, good deeds can look honorable, but not if they're coming from the flesh. Not if they're proceeding from selfish motives. It can only be honorable if it's proceeding from the heart. That's the only way we could be being honorable. So we don't want to settle for just doing things in the natural. How many people know you can hear something and not be listening? It's an amazing thing. You're standing right in front of somebody, they're talking to you, you hear what they're saying, you're not listening at all. I mean, I'm amazed at how I can read a book, read it out loud. And while I'm reading out loud, I'm totally thinking about something else. I'm totally somewhere else. I am not what? Paying attention. What do you mean? I'm not paying with my spirit to focus. I'm not putting my focus into what I'm doing. So I'm hearing, but I'm not listening with my heart. That's what Jesus said. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. See, because he knew there were those that were just listening to him with their, or hearing him with their physical ears. They would listen to him. And you know what they were able to think about the whole time? Think about how, wow, I'm here. And I mean, this is the prophet everybody's been talking about. And I got here. Wait until I get back home and tell everybody I got to hear what the prophet was preaching, and I was only 5 rows back. And that's what they got out of it. They get to tell people I was there. I shook his hand. I love that with Mark chapter 5, that woman who had an issue of blood. The Bible said Jesus is moving through a crowd of people. People are pressing up against him, and they're all around him. And as Jesus is walking, this woman with everything that is in her, fully believing with her heart, fully persuaded that he had her answer. She believed in him to the core. And she wasn't going to let anything stop her from getting to him. And she pressed through that crowd, and she might have looked very dishonorable, very disrespectful. She's cutting people in the line. She's pushing herself past other people that are there to see Jesus, to hear with their outer man what Jesus has to say. And she's pressing through all that worthless junk. Because that's what it turns out to be in the end. If you just hear and hear and hear, but you don't listen and take to heart and receive what the Spirit of God is saying, then what does it accomplish you? It's worthless. Think of how many worthless hours, how many worthless things people have given themselves to. Worthless things. But man, from her heart, she's pressing through. She's pressing through. What is she doing? She's honoring Jesus. She's honoring him because she is risking her life and giving her whole heart to get to him, to lay hold of him, because she believes in him. She fully believes that what he says is true. She's been listening. She heard about him. She heard about him. She believed. She listened to what she heard. And she received that with her whole heart, so that she moved with everything that was within her to get to him. And when she did, she laid hold of him. Power flowed out of her, out of Jesus into her, and she was completely healed. Glory to God. completed. And Jesus turned around and he commended her for her faith. He commended her for that because she had honor. But think about it. After she had touched him, Jesus felt power flow out of him. He said, "Who touched me?" And they said, "Lord, you see the crowd thronging you and you ask, 'Who touched me?' Lord, everybody's touching you." But no, see, Jesus, no. Somebody touched me with their whole heart, with their faith. They reached out and they received not just a touch that they can take home and say, "I touched his garment. I was right there. You were right there. I was right there. You weren't. I was." That makes me better than you. That gives me self-worth. That makes me important. That makes me valuable. When actually you've made yourself worthless without any value because you've esteemed the flesh above the spirit. And honor starts in the spirit. It starts in the spirit. It's all spiritual. It has nothing to do with the flesh. It's not in the flesh. Are you with me? So we don't want to just settle over hearing. We want to listen. That's how we get changed. You don't get changed just hearing with your head. That's a wonderful message. And you allow yourself to drift in and out. Now, if I'm reading something important like the Bible, I'll be reading along and I'm reading out loud. Next thing, there I go. Now let's see. I have to get that done today, and I have to do that, and I'm reading out loud. I'm reading out loud. If you looked at me, you'd see me sitting there in my chair, and you'd hear me. "Give ear to my prayer, O God. Do not hide yourself from my supplication. Tend to me and hear me." Sometimes I actually read like that. And my heart is severely pained within me. And meanwhile, I'm over here going, now let's see. What we need to do is, you know what I'm talking about? Your heart is somewhere else. Your head and your ears and your mouth are in one place, and your heart is somewhere else. And when that happens, I catch myself. Oh, man. And if I have to write some stuff down to just get that off my mind, I'll do it. But then I go back. And the thought comes, now, if you're going to read through the Bible in a year, certainly you're not going to go back and reread those 2 chapters. I mean, we're trying to get through this thing in a year, you know. And you've already read it, so just be happy with it and go on. I'm not. No, I'm going to go back. I wasn't paying attention. So what good is it? Of what value is it to me? I've got to go back. See, I'm not just doing something to be religious. I'm not just doing something to sound good and look good, even to myself. A lot of people, I got to spend time with God, and it's only to make themselves feel good about themselves. I spent my time with God. I touched the hem of his garment. Nothing came out, but I touched him. I got there. I got in the Word today. I read the Bible, and I prayed, and I did everything I was supposed to do. But my heart was far from him. My heart was far from him. So then there was no honor involved in it. And so guess what? If there was no honor in it, then there'll be no honor from it. You'll not be honored for it. You'll receive no honor from what you did. See? You won't receive anything from it. So what does that make it? Worthless. Worthless. Again, honor is God's value system. It is the currency of heaven. It is spiritual currency. In the same way that you can buy something with money, spend. Again, you're not going to spend a lot of money on something that's not worth much to you. Well, guess what? You're not going to put your heart into something that's not much to you. See? In the same way, you would spend money on someone that's important to you, then you would also give of your time. You would spend your time with someone. You would spend your time in prayer for someone. You would pay attention to that someone. You would give of your heart to that someone. And if someone just isn't worth all that much to you, then you don't give all that much of yourself to them. See, that's why fornication is just such a dishonorable thing. Sexual relationships outside of marriage, where there's no commitment. I'm not going to marry you. I'm not going to give my life to you, but I'll borrow you. I'll try you out. Let's live together. You know what? We'll just live together and we'll try each other out. We'll try each other out. No investment, no giving of anything that costs you something. You can jump out at any time. Do you see how dishonorable this is? To treat another human being like that, and then for human beings to allow themselves to be treated like that. There's a lot of people that have no self-worth whatsoever. They have no self-worth. They'll jump in the car with anybody. And they'll go to any motel. They'll go anywhere. They'll just jump in and they just give themselves away because they see themselves as worthless and cheap. But you get God's image of you on the inside of you. And baby, you'll say, you can't touch this. Oh, come on, honey. Come on. What's the problem? You. I'm not cheap. Don't you treat me as cheap and worthless. You ain't touching this until you're ready to pay with your life. You ain't touching this. You better pay with your life. Cheap thrills make you cheap and worthless. Now, thank God if you repent. Got to always throw that in there. Thank God. If you repent of these things, which means to acknowledge that it's wrong and recognize, God, you made me better than that. See, because if you're dishonoring yourself, you're dishonoring the God that created you. He made you better than that. He made you higher than that. He made you more value than that. Stand up and act like God knows what he's doing. Stop acting like God makes trash. God don't make trash. Everything God does is powerful. It's precious. It's awesome. You are awesome. You're a masterpiece. You don't just give yourself away like that. Are you hearing me? You don't give yourself away. He said, no, you keep yourself. You keep yourself until somebody's willing to pay the price. And you have to recognize, you got to slap your own hand and say, hey, if you're not willing to pay, then keep your hands off. Keep your hands off. That's keeping yourself honorable. Be an honorable person. And you want to be an honorable person because it's honorable people that get honored. Dishonorable people will not be honored. They will not be respected in life. They will not be esteemed and viewed as valuable even in the sight of God. Yes, your actions do matter. How you treat yourself, how you believe, they're important to God. These things are important to God. So don't allow yourself to be a superficial person. Don't just get all into this self-love. There's a lot of people, they love and peace, love and no war, love. To love. I love that slogan. Love and no war. That kind of goes together. That tells you a whole lot right there. In other words, love and no sacrifice. No laying down your life for anybody. No jumping in harm's way to protect people. It's just love. That's not love. Love, real love, is a lay your life down love. It's a lay your life down love. It's an unconditional love. You give yourself, you give your life, you give of your spirit for others. So there's a lot of people that they're loving, but it's unconditional. It's not unconditional. It's a conditional love. Say again, what? Superficial, cheap. I love you. Oh, yeah? How much have you paid for me lately? How much have you given of yourself lately? What are you willing to spend for me? I love you. I love you. In other words, I love how you make me feel. I love how you spend all for me. See? It's very dishonorable. So it's love, but it's not. It's a dishonorable. It's a superficial love. It's cheap. Has no value to it. Can you say amen? So what comes from the heart is what is spiritual and honorable. Well, this subject of honor is an important one, because if we're going to be successful in the kingdom of God, then we have to become honorable people. And honor is something that we're to be continuously growing in. And so, I encourage you, get the entire series that I've put together entitled Honor, God's Value System. And you can order it by going to our website at lofbc.org. Or you can call the toll-free number on the screen, and we will ship this out to you right away. This, again, is a very, very powerful teaching that is going to help you to grow in the honor of God. Be a more honorable person. And the more you walk in honor, the more you will be honored by God.
Life of Faith Bible Church in Louisville, Kentucky is having a 2-day meeting just for men. It will be a powerful time of training in spiritual warfare that will be both engaging and exciting. Join us Friday, April 27th at 7 p.m. and then Saturday morning, April 28th at 10 a.m. with a brunch to follow. This is your opportunity to be heavily equipped for your heavenly assignment, so be sure not to miss out. You can register by going to our website at lofbc.org. That's lofbc.org. Or call 888-542-2555. Be sure to join forces with us for this very strategic and divinely ordered men's meeting on April 27th and 28th at Life of Faith Bible Church.
For a CD or DVD of today's message, write to us at Life of Faith Bible Church, 14200 Spiegel Lane, Louisville, Kentucky, 40299. Or call 1-888-542-2555. You can also visit us online at lofbc.org. The Living the Life broadcast is sponsored by the faithful financial gifts of its viewers.